the city of Los Angeles breathed with two lungs, one filled with sunshine and palm trees, the other with shadows and blood-stained money. In Koreatown, where neon signs blazed in Hangul and English, both worlds collided every single night. Inside Elysium, the most exclusive Korean fusion restaurant west of the Mississippi, crystal chandeliers threw golden light across imported marble floors. The air hummed with whispered deals and clinking champagne glasses. Politicians sat 3 tables from gang leaders. Movie producers laughed with men who'd never pay taxes on their fortunes. This was neutral ground, sacred territory where violence stayed outside and power wore tailored suits. At least, that's how it was supposed to work. Kang Min-jae sat in the private corner booth like a king surveying his kingdom. At 27, he'd built an empire that stretched from Seoul to San Francisco. On paper, he owned construction companies, import businesses, commercial real estate. The truth lived in shadows: protection rackets, money laundering networks, financial manipulation that made fortunes appear and disappear like magic tricks performed with blood. His tailored Tom Ford suit cost $12,000. His Patek Philippe watch could buy a house, but it was his eyes that truly announced what he was. Cold, calculating, empty of everything except ambition and the kind of cruelty that comes from climbing out of poverty by stepping on everyone else's throat. Tonight, he dined with 4 of his lieutenants, all Korean, all dressed in expensive darkness. They spoke in their native tongue, secure in the knowledge that most Americans couldn't understand a word, secure in their arrogance. Aaliyah Brown had been working at Elysium for 8 months, 27 years old, beautiful in a way she deliberately downplayed. She kept her natural hair pulled back in a tight bun, wore minimal makeup, moved through the restaurant like a ghost, present but invisible. Exactly how she needed to be, because visibility meant questions. Questions meant background checks. Background checks meant someone might discover that Aaliyah Brown hadn't existed before 5 years ago. That the woman serving Wagyu beef and $300 bottles of wine had once been someone else entirely. Someone with secrets buried so deep they'd take a shovel made of blood to unearth. She'd learned Korean from her father. Dr. Marcus Brown had been a linguistics professor, fluent in 7 languages, obsessed with the music of different tongues. He'd taught her Korean at the kitchen table between homework and dinner, made her practice until the accent was perfect, until she could speak Busan dialect, Seoul standard, even the rough Gyeongsang province slang that marked you as working class. He died when she was 21. Heart attack. Sudden. Devastating. She'd been alone ever since. Tonight, she was assigned to Section 4, which included the corner booth, which included Kang Min-jae and his predators in human skin. She approached with water and menus, eyes down, face pleasant and blank. Professional invisibility perfected through years of surviving in spaces where being noticed meant being targeted. "Good evening, gentlemen. May I start you with—" Kang Min-jae waved her away without looking up, said something in Korean to his men. They laughed. Aaliyah stood there, waiting. Patient? Still. One of the lieutenants, a weasel-faced man with a scar across his knuckles, looked her up and down with undisguised contempt. He said something else in Korean. More laughter. Aaliyah's jaw tightened imperceptibly, but she remained silent, smiled her professional smile, waited. Then Kang Min-jae spoke. His voice was smooth, educated, dripping with casual cruelty, and he spoke directly about her as if she were a piece of furniture, an object incapable of understanding. "아이런 여자들은 부엌 뒤에나 있어야 돼. 여기 세워놓으니까 눈만 더러워." "Women like this only belong behind the kitchen. Putting them out here just dirties the view." His men erupted in laughter. Cruel, knowing. One of them added, "휴긴들은 원래 시키는 대로만 잘하잖아, 깨처럼." Black people only know how to do what they're told, like dogs. More laughter. louder now, confident that their racism was protected by language, by power, by the certainty that this woman, this Black American waitress, couldn't possibly understand. They were wrong. For exactly 3 seconds, Aaliyah stood completely still. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Her hands, holding the water pitcher, trembled once, then stopped. She thought about her mother, about medical debt that still haunted her, about Kendrick, her 14-year-old deaf brother who needed her, about the life she'd carefully built from nothing, the anonymity she'd crafted like armor. She thought about staying silent, swallowing the insult, surviving another day. Then she thought about her father, about his voice teaching her that language was power. That understanding was a weapon most people underestimated. That sometimes, just sometimes, dignity mattered more than safety. Aaliyah set down the water pitcher with deliberate care. She straightened her spine, looked directly into Kang Min-jae's eyes, and spoke in perfect, flawless Korean with a Busan accent that cut like a knife. 내 말이 맞아. 하지만 눈보다 더러운 게 있어. 바로 자기가 남들 위에 있다고 착각하는 그 추한 마음이지. You're right, but there are things dirtier than eyes. Like the ugly heart that thinks it's above everyone else. The restaurant went silent. Every conversation stopped mid-sentence. Forks froze halfway to mouths. The pianist in the corner actually stopped playing, his hands hovering over the keys like he'd forgotten how music worked. 50 of Los Angeles's most powerful people sat in stunned, breathless silence. Kang Min-jae's face went white, then red, then white again. His lieutenant stared at Aaliyah like she'd grown a second head, like reality had just broken its own rules. She continued, her voice calm, steady, devastating. 그리고 가해 같은 사람은 나 말고 바로 당신 같은 사람이야. 힘으로 남을 짓밟아서 자기가 강하다고 착각하는 사람. And the person who's really like a dog isn't me. It's people like you. People who crush others to feel strong. She picked up her water pitcher. 메뉴 되어보시려면 부르세요? Call me when you're ready to order. Then she walked away. Not rushed, not frightened, with her head high and her shoulders back, and the kind of dignity that couldn't be bought or sold or stolen. Behind her, she left chaos. Kang Min-jae sat frozen in his seat. For the first time in 20 years, since he'd clawed his way out of Busan's slums, someone had made him feel small. Not with violence, not with threats, with words, with understanding, with the simple act of being seen and refusing to be less than human. His lieutenant, the weasel-faced one, started to stand. Boss, should I... Anja. Sit. The word was quiet, but it carried the weight of absolute authority. The man sat. Kang Min-jae's hands were shaking. He clenched them into fists beneath the table where no one could see. His heart pounded, not with rage, though that was there, but with something else, something he couldn't name. Shame. Across the restaurant, at table 12, a white businessman turned to his companion. What the hell just happened? I have no idea, but that waitress just became a legend. At the bar, the head sommelier whispered to the hostess. She spoke Korean. Perfect Korean. Did you know she could do that? Nobody knew. In the kitchen, the head chef, a 60-year-old Korean immigrant who'd worked his way up from dishwasher, heard the story from a server. He smiled, sad and proud at once. Good, he said quietly. Someone finally said what needed saying. 20 minutes later, Vincent Park, The restaurant manager called Aaliyah into his office. His face was ashen. His hands trembled as he closed the door. "Do you have any idea what you just did?" His voice cracked. Aaliyah stood with her back straight. "Yes. That man, Kang Minji, he's not just a customer. He's..." Vincent struggled to find words that wouldn't incriminate himself. "He's connected. Dangerous. You can't just embarrass him like that. He insulted me, called me a dog, in my father's language." "I don't care if he called you the devil himself. You smile, you nod, you take his money." Vincent's voice rose. "Do you understand what you've done? He could have you killed. He could have me killed. He could burn this entire building down, and nobody would investigate too hard because that's who he is." Aaliyah met his eyes. "Then I guess I should start looking for a new job." "You..." Vincent stopped, stared at her. "You're not even scared." "I've been scared my whole life, Mr. Park. Tonight, I chose dignity instead." Before Vincent could respond, his phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, went even paler. "He wants to see you." "Who?" "Kang Min-jae. He's requesting you specifically. Wants you to serve his table for the rest of the night." Aaliyah's stomach dropped. "That's not..." "I don't care what it is. You're going." Vincent's voice hardened. "Maybe if you apologize, grovel a little, he'll let this slide. Maybe he'll even find it amusing. But if you refuse, if you run, he'll take it as an insult. And then we're all dead." Aaliyah stood there, calculating odds, escape routes, survival strategies. Then she thought about Kendrick, about the school bills, about the life she'd built from ashes. "Fine," she said. "I'll go." When Aaliyah approached Kang Min-jae's table, his lieutenants had left. He sat alone, a single glass of whiskey in front of him. The bottle, Hibiki 30-year, cost more than her monthly rent. He gestured to the seat across from him. "Sit." Not a request, a command. Aaliyah sat, kept her hands visible on the table, non-threatening, but also not submissive. She met his eyes. For a long moment, they just stared at each other. Two people from different worlds, connected by language and the strange intimacy of mutual understanding. "Where did you learn Korean?" His voice was quiet, controlled. "My father." "Your father?" Kang Min-jae's lips curved, not quite a smile. "Black man, native-level Busan Korean. That's unusual." "He was a linguist, professor. He believed the language was the purest form of culture." "Was?" "He died 6 years ago." Something flickered in Kang Min-jae's expression. Too fast to name. "I'm sorry." The words surprised them both. Aaliyah studied him. Really looked. Beneath the expensive suit and cold eyes, she saw something else. Something old and wounded and carefully hidden. "Why am I here?" she asked. "Because you did something no one has done in 20 years. You made me feel ashamed." He said it simply, factually. "I want to understand how." "I spoke the truth, in a language you thought protected you." "It wasn't just that." Kang Min-jae leaned forward. "You weren't afraid. Everyone is afraid of me. My enemies, my allies, even my own people. Fear is the foundation of power. But you stood there and looked at me like I was nothing, like I was less than nothing, like I was exactly what you called me." "A dog?" Aaliyah's voice was steady. "A man who crushes others to feel strong." He poured whiskey into a second glass, pushed it toward her. Drink with me. I'm working. Not anymore. Vincent gave you the rest of the night off. Paid. His eyes held hers. Drink. It's not a request. Aaliyah picked up the glass. The whiskey was smooth, expensive, tasted like smoke and regret. They drank in silence. Finally, Kang Min-jae spoke. I grew up in Busan, Nampodong, the poor part. My father was a drunk who beat my mother. My mother cleaned houses for rich families. We had nothing. Less than nothing. He refilled both glasses. When I was 12, some boys from school, rich boys, they found me in an alley, told me I smelled like poverty, like garbage. They beat me so badly I couldn't see out of my left eye for a week. His finger traced the rim of his glass. And I swore I would never be weak again, never be poor again, never let anyone look down on me. Aaliyah listened, silent. I came to America when I was 19, worked construction, saved everything, started buying properties, made connections, built this. He gestured vaguely. An empire. Respect. Fear. I became everything those boys weren't. Everything my father couldn't be. And you became exactly what you hated, Aaliyah said quietly. Kang Min-jae's hand stilled. What? Those boys who beat you. They used their power to make themselves feel superior, to crush someone weaker. She met his eyes. Now you do the same thing. Different methods, same cruelty. You became what you hated most. The words hung in the air like smoke. Kang Min-jae stared at her. Then, impossibly, he laughed. Not cruel laughter. Real laughter. Bitter and broken and honest. You're right, he said. God help me, you're right. He drained his glass, set it down with careful precision. I could have you killed for what you said tonight. You know that? Yes. I could make you disappear. No one would question it. No one would investigate. I know. Then why aren't you afraid? Aaliyah smiled, sad and small. Because I've already lost everything that mattered. My parents, my childhood. My brother barely survives month to month. I work 3 jobs and still can't breathe. So what's death compared to that? At least it would be quick. Kang Min-jae went very still. What's wrong with your brother? He's deaf, needs special education. It costs $2,700 a month. Aaliyah's voice didn't break. She'd learned not to let it. I'm always 3 months behind. Always one disaster away from losing him to the system. Then for a long moment, Kang Min-jae said nothing. His expression was unreadable. Then he pulled out his phone, made a call, spoke rapid Korean to whoever answered. When he hung up, he looked at her. Your brother's school, what's it called? Why? Just tell me. The Sierra Vista Academy for the Deaf? Kang Min-jae typed something on his phone, hit send, set the device down. It's paid, he said simply. Aaliyah's heart stopped. What? The tuition. 3 years. Paid in full as of 10 minutes ago. His eyes held hers. You won't lose him. Aaliyah couldn't breathe, couldn't process what he was saying. That's over $150,000. It's money. I have money. Kang Min-jae stood. What I don't have is anyone who speaks the truth to me. Anyone who sees what I've become and names it. He pulled out a business card, set it on the table. If you ever need anything, call. I don't understand. Neither do I. He smiled, genuine and sad and impossibly young. But you reminded me of my mother tonight. The way she'd look at my father after he hit her. Not broken, not defeated, just disappointed. Like she'd expected better from him, from the world. His voice softened. She spoke Busan Korean exactly like you do. Aaliyah picked up the card. Heavy stock, gold embossing, just a name and number. This isn't forgiveness, she said. No, it's acknowledgement. You were right. I am a dog, a rabid dog who forgot he used to be human. Kang Min-jae put on his suit jacket. Maybe someday I'll remember, maybe not. But tonight, you gave me something nobody else could. You gave me a mirror, and I hate what I saw. He walked toward the exit, stopped, looked back. Thank you, he said in Korean. Jinsimiya. I mean it. Then he was gone. Aaliyah sat alone at the table, holding a business card that weighed more than paper should, staring at whiskey glasses that had just rewritten her entire understanding of the world. Kendrick's tuition was paid. The school confirmed it. 3 years, in full. From an anonymous donor who'd specified only that the funds were for Aaliyah Brown's brother. She kept the business card in her wallet, didn't call the number, didn't know what she would even say. But 3 weeks after that night, she was working the evening shift at Elysium when Vincent approached her. Table 9, he said quietly. Your section. She looked. Kang Min-jae sat alone, reading something on his tablet. He was dressed more casually tonight. Black jeans, simple sweater. He looked younger, less frightening. She walked over, water pitcher in hand, professional smile in place. He looked up, smiled slightly. Good evening, she said in English. Good evening, he replied. Then, in Korean, 오늘 추천 메뉴가 뭐예요? What's the special tonight? Aaliyah couldn't help it. She smiled, a real smile. Galbi, but you probably already knew that. Maybe I wanted to hear you say it. His eyes were warm, open, less haunted than before. Galbi it is, then. As she turned to go, he spoke again. Aaliyah. She stopped. He'd never used her name before. Would you... He hesitated. Vulnerability looked foreign on him. Would you sit with me? After your shift? Not as a waitress, just as someone who speaks my language. Someone who sees me. She should have said no. Should have kept her distance. This man was dangerous. Connected to darkness she'd spent years avoiding. But something in his eyes stopped her. Something lonely and lost and desperately trying to be better. I finish at midnight, she said. I'll wait. When her shift ended, she found him at the same table. The restaurant had cleared out. Just kitchen staff cleaning up, soft jazz playing through speakers. She sat down. He'd ordered food, real food, comfort food, tteokbokki, kimchi jjigae, makgeolli in traditional bowls. I haven't eaten like this since my mother died, he said quietly. Always business dinners, performance meals, nothing real. They ate in comfortable silence, shared the makgeolli, spoke in a mix of Korean and English, their two languages weaving together like music. "Why did you pay for Kendrick's school?" she finally asked. Kang Min-jae set down his chopsticks. "Because you were right. About everything. And I'm tired, Aaliyah. Tired of being what everyone expects. The ruthless businessman, the cold enforcer. I've made so much money, built so much power, and I have no one who sees me as anything except a weapon or a wallet." He met her eyes. "You saw me, the real me, the little boy from Busan who's still terrified of being nothing." His voice cracked slightly. "That's worth more than money." Aaliyah reached across the table, put her hand over his. He looked down at their joined hands like he'd forgotten what gentleness felt like. "What do you want?" she asked softly. "I don't know anymore. Maybe to be better. To build something that doesn't require fear. To..." He laughed bitterly. "To have one person in my life who isn't afraid of me, who doesn't want something from me, who just sees me." "I see you." "I know." He turned his hand over, threaded his fingers through hers. "That's why I keep coming back." They sat like that for a long time. Two people from impossible worlds holding hands across a table littered with comfort food and empty glasses. "This is dangerous," Aaliyah whispered. "Everything worth having is. Your people won't accept me. Then I'll find new people. The world won't understand. The world never does." She squeezed his hand. He squeezed back. Outside, Los Angeles glittered with neon promises and shadowed lies. Inside, something fragile and new and impossibly brave was being born. Not love. Not yet. But something like hope. Something like a man remembering how to be human. Something like a woman remembering she deserved to be seen. Kang Min-jae stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse, watching dawn paint the city gold and rose. Behind him, Aaliyah slept in his bed, her hair spread across his pillows, her breathing soft and even. He'd spent the last 6 months dismantling parts of his empire. The protection rackets that targeted small businesses, gone. The loan shark operations that preyed on desperate immigrants, shut down. The money laundering pipelines that funded violence, redirected to legitimate investments. His lieutenants had questioned him. Some had left. A few had openly rebelled. He dealt with them swiftly, finally, but without the cruelty he would have used before. Because every time he was tempted to become the monster again, he heard her voice. "You became what you hated most." Aaliyah stirred behind him, padded across the room wrapped in his shirt, slipped her arms around his waist, pressed her cheek against his back. "You're thinking too loud," she murmured. "I'm thinking about how one moment can change everything." He covered her hands with his. 3 words in Korean, and my whole world rewrote itself. "Do you regret it?" "Never." He turned in her arms, kissed her forehead. "I was dying, Aaliyah. Drowning in money and power and absolute emptiness. You saved me." "You saved yourself. I just held up a mirror." "You loved me when I was unlovable, when I was still a monster." "You were never a monster, just a hurt man doing monstrous things." She looked up at him. "And you're choosing differently now. That's everything." He kissed her, soft and reverent and full of gratitude that felt like grace. When they pulled apart, she smiled. "Kendrick wants to meet you." Kang Min-jae's eyes widened. "He knows about me? He knows I'm seeing someone who makes me happy, who paid for his school, who's trying to be better." Aaliyah's smile turned mischievous. "I didn't tell him about the mafia part." He laughed, real laughter that came from someplace genuine. "Probably wise. He's a good judge of character. If he doesn't like you, I'm dumping you immediately." "Fair. I'm serious." "So am I." Kang Min-jae cupped her face. "I'll win him over. I'll learn sign language. I'll prove I'm worthy of you, both of you." Tears pricked Aaliyah's eyes. "You already are." They stood in the golden dawn light, holding each other. Two broken people choosing to build something whole. Outside, the city woke up, indifferent to miracles. But inside, in a penthouse that had witnessed only loneliness for years, love was learning to speak in two languages. One of violence transformed, one of dignity preserved. And somewhere in Busan, in a cemetery overlooking the sea, Kang Min-jae's mother smiled, because her son had finally found his way home. The restaurant wasn't Elysium. It was smaller, warmer, a Korean soul food fusion place in the heart of Koreatown that served kimchi collard greens and bulgogi fried chicken and made absolutely no sense on paper, but worked perfectly in practice. The sign above the door read, "Brown and Kang's," in English and Korean. Inside, Aaliyah moved through the dining room with practiced ease, not as a server, but as co-owner. She wore jeans and a simple blouse. Her hair was natural, curly, free. She looked radiant. Kang Min-jae worked the kitchen alongside their head chef, his sleeves rolled up, hands dirty with marinade and spices. He was laughing at something the sous chef said, his face open and young and completely transformed. He'd sold most of his empire, kept the legitimate businesses, used the money to fund this. Something honest, something clean, something that fed people instead of feeding off them. At a corner table, Kendrick sat doing homework, his service dog beside him. He looked up when Aaliyah passed, signed something that made her laugh. Kang Min-jae emerged from the kitchen, wiping his hands on his apron. He'd been learning sign language for a year, was still clumsy, but he was trying. He signed to Kendrick. "Food good?" Kendrick grinned, signed back. "Best ever, but you still can't beat my sister's mac and cheese." Kang Min-jae clutched his chest in mock pain. Kendrick laughed silently, shoulders shaking. Aaliyah watched them together. Her brother, her partner, her chosen family. This wasn't the ending she'd imagined that night 1 year ago when she'd spoken 3 Korean words and shattered a man's world. But it was better. Because sometimes the most powerful act of revolution wasn't violence. It was seeing someone's humanity when they'd forgotten they still had it. It was speaking truth when silence was easier. It was choosing dignity over survival. And it was believing, even in the darkest moments, that people could change. That monsters could remember how to be men. That love could grow in the strangest soil. Kang Min-jae came up behind Aaliyah, wrapped his arms around her waist, pressed a kiss to her temple. "Happy?" he murmured. She leaned back against him, looked around their restaurant, at the diverse crowd eating and laughing, at Kendrick doing homework, at the life they'd built from ashes and impossibility. "Yeah," she whispered. "I really am." Outside, Los Angeles kept spinning, indifferent to miracles. But inside, miracles were the only thing on the menu, served in 2 languages, cooked with redemption, and tasting exactly like home.